Alright, come on this side. So, do you believe in Jesus Christ, my friend?
I don't.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Would you consider yourself an atheist?
I would consider myself an agnostic.
What do you mean by that?
So, as in, I don't know whether there is a God or there isn't a God.
Okay.
I can't say definitively.
Okay. So, if I were to say, I don't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah.
So, if I were to say God exists, what would be your response?
I would say I can't disprove that, or I wouldn't say there's enough to make me believe that either.
Okay. So, you don't think that the evidence is strong enough one way or the other?
You're right, exactly.
Okay. Would you consider yourself a scientific person?
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah. So, you believe in science?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you believe in the Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you adhere to the Big Bang Theory, do you agree with me that everything that is natural, material, physical has a beginning, correct?
Yes. Are you going on the beginning? If something has a beginning, then there must be a creator, and then a creator to the creator, and a creator to the is that?
Well, that's not a good description of my argument.
Okay, yeah. No, let me. You go ahead. You go ahead. Yeah, yeah. You make your example. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So if the argument is if the universe has a beginning, right? There had to be so you have two options. Before the universe came into existence, either there was something, or there was nothing.
Right.
So which option is more logical to you?
Well, have you heard of the theory, right? Whether basically the Big Bang is like kind of a circle, right? Where it starts at nothing, and then it goes into something, and then it goes back into nothing, and then kind of a circle kind of theory.
So how do you get something from nothing?
What I would say is that either the Big Bang has always been a thing, or it's been a thing just recent. I don't know. I would say that I can't tell whether it has been. Like, I don't know enough, right? So I could say that either it has started from nothing, and I don't know enough to say whether that is scientifically makes sense, or the Big Bang has always been a kind of a reoccurring event. So the universe has always existed. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, but that theory that the universe has always existed has been disapproved.
It's been disproved.
Of course.
How?
Through the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory.
No, the Big Bang Theory doesn't disprove that.
Okay.
The Big Bang Theory only says that the universe started from nothing. But what could have happened is that the universe started from nothing, right? And then it became something. And then over hundreds of millions of years, it goes back to nothing again. As we can see through, I don't know, scientific proof shows that the universe is collapsing, or will collapse eventually. So if the universe expands, and then it collapses, and then it expands, and then it collapses.
Okay, so what evidence do you have for that theory?
Right, so for example, we see in the environment around us, right?
Right, but where are you getting this theory? What evidence? Can you name me a scientist? Can you name me an article? Can you name me some type of research? Or is it just coming from your mind?
Well, all theories are... Yeah, go on.
Like, me and him, this is the kind of thing we get up to. But I would like to quote Stephen Hawking. He said the universe does not require a god to light the blue touch paper. As in, the universe can arise from itself rather than requiring a god to set off the Big Bang.
Right.
Okay, so how can the universe come from itself?
What do you mean?
Is that what you just said?
No, the point he's making, this is not the point I'm making.
Right, but you understand?
The point he's making is that you can't do a sort of God of the gap theory where you say, oh, this is an area of science that we can't explain, therefore God does it. Because that means that every time you patch in the hole with a new scientific theory, you end up just like squeezing God out. So if you want to defend a God, which by the way, I'm not going to say that I'm agnostic, I'm much more atheistic. But I think if you're going to take the argument that God exists, I wouldn't use a scientific realm and say that that like God caused the Big Bang, because eventually we'll get to the point where we can say that there was such a concentrated amount of atoms that some sort of like reaction happened. Like that's the point I would make.
Yeah. So my argument is very simple. Yeah. Okay, if you adhere to Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein, Blaise Pascal, all of them know that the universe has a beginning, right, and the universe has an end, right? That has been scientifically proven. Now the argument is very simple, okay? If the universe has a beginning, everything that is physical, material, within time and space had a beginning at some point. The question is, before the universe came into existence, was there something there before, or was there nothing?
Right. Let me jump in here. Okay, so
but could you address my question though?
Yeah, of course. Doing it now. Right, so you're saying that there must have been something to cause the Big Bang.
I asked a question. Right. I said, what is more likely? If there was something before the universe came into existence, or was there nothing? Which option is more logical? So You say nothing, okay? Would you say there's nothing that came in that was there before the universe?
I don't know enough. I don't know enough about the Big Bang Theory to say.
I would just say,
can't
you know,
lie.
Okay,
Are
well,
you familiar
if you don't know enough, my friend, then why are you trying to argue against God?
Let me. Okay. Yeah, go on.
You know, are you familiar with Brian Cox? He's a British physicist, astrophysicist.
Right.
And what he said is that you can say there was nothing before the Big Bang or whatever, but the idea of the Big Bang is that when time started. So there's not that you can't have this idea that there's nothing before the BigAng, because time starts at the Big Bang.
So in that case, what other
There's
option?
nothing that kicked off the Big Bang, because Big Bang is when
I didn't.
time as we know
I
it
didn't even
starts.
give an argument yet. I just asked you a question. Okay.
And I'm-
Either there was something before the Big Bang, or there was nothing. So your theory is that there is nothing before the Big Bang, and the universe came out of nothing. Okay. So that position, based on every evidence that we have or any scientific research, is illogical because you cannot have existence from non-existence.
Can I
I
just
know
say,
what you're gonna
Can I
say
just
as
say
well.
causation and correlation, right? Just because there is a correlation, right, doesn't mean there's a causation. There's never a causation unless, like, we can only prove theories by disproving them, if that makes sense. So, for example, let's say, and this is an analogy I'm giving, right? There's a bunch of chickens in a hen coop, right? Every single day, right, there's food that comes down at 12 o'clock. And so the scientists of the chicken, right? Let's say the chickens have scientists, right? The chicken scientists are saying every day, right, at 12 o'clock, food comes down. That means that in this universe, in our reality, it is a scientific truth that at 12 o'clock there is always food, right? And then one day, rather than there being food, the doors of the hen open and the farmers come in and slaughter the chickens. Just because every single time you can see that there is something happening doesn't mean that that is a universal truth, if that makes sense. So just because every single time we see that nothing can come from something can never come from nothing, that doesn't mean that forever that is the thing. So for example, what I'm saying as an agnostic is I'm saying that I don't know whether the Big Bang started from nothing or whether it started from something, but I know there was a Big Bang, right? And so what I think that there's a possibility that it came from God. There's also a possibility that it came from nothing, and that the Big Bang is a reoccurring existential thing. The universe is, for example, the universe has always been a thing, and it's just always been in a loop of Big Bang, something happening, and then nothing again, and then Big Bang again.
I could sure I could grant you that theory, but it still doesn't address my question.
Right.
Before the universe ever existed,
Yes.
what was there before?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Right. So according to you, there was nothing.
Yes.
Right. And your theory doesn't address my question
What I'm
because
saying is that I don't know whether there was something or not.
that's fine. You don't. So you don't know. That's fine.
Right.
Can I just say,
I
like,
can
you
say that none of us can say,
like,
but yeah.
Can you just, you're saying that the Big Bang Theory can't have come from nothing, therefore God set off the
Look,
Big
I didn't even make my argument.
Yeah, let's
All
hear-
I
let's
did
hear
was
your
ask you questions.
so that
hear
I
your
can,
argument.
Okay.
I already told you nothing.
Okay, so you talked about a universal truth. A universal truth that cannot be disapproved is that everything that has a beginning has a cause.
But how do you know that?
This is what Aristotle said, but I'm not sure I agree with that, by the way.
So give me an example of something that the universe is the topic that we're arguing about.
No, I
So
understand
if you're gonna come to a conclusion about the universe, you gotta give me some evidence outside of your theory, so for your argument to be logical. All right.
The thing is, it doesn't just because everything we've seen points to one. Like for example, let's say every single time in the universe, radiation comes from this, like, I don't know, radiation comes from gamma rays or something like that. All we need is one instance to disprove that, right? So what we learn is that correlation never means causation. Causation isn't real, right? You only get causation by assuming something, right? There's no theory in our world that is guaranteed real until we've seen every single, like, a theory is only a theory until it gets disproved.
It's not a theory. It's not a theory.
It's
a scientific fact. It's a scientific fact. So what you are doing, my friend, what you are doing is you're ignoring every single evidence, every single scientific research, every single information about science that we have. You're ignoring it.
I'm only saying there's a possibility.
So you talked about the God of the gaps. You're doing a God of the theory, the gap of the theory right now. You're ignoring all the evidence out there and rejecting God based on a theory that doesn't exist, that came out of your mind, not based on any research or evidence. You cannot give me any source or scientific research.
Possibility, right? I'm saying that we don't know enough to say whether there is or isn't.
Well, we do know enough based on all the historical and scientific research that we have in existence.
Just because everything we have seen, right?
Points to God.
No. Everything. Let's say that. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Let's just get into the nitty-gritty now,
Right.
okay? So you're saying God of the gap, God of the theories, or whatever, but the reality is that God is as much of a theory as any other scientific evidence,
right?
Except for the fact that when we're talking about the Big Bang Theory, we can see like cosmic background microwave and like red light refraction and all of this nonsense. You know, evolution, we can see like Galapagos, Darwin explored all the birds. The idea of a God comes from no evidence. That's the problem that I have.
Okay, but I'm the only one in this conversation who gave you scientific evidence to back up my claim. You did not give me any scientific evidence or any research to back up your claim.
Wait, okay, and one last thing, because I'm planning on leaving.
Well, you gotta address what I'm saying.
Okay, I will say this. If you're saying that the universe can't come from nothing, and God can come from nothing, then that doesn't really work, mate.
So here was my claim. Everything that has a beginning has a cause. If you can prove me otherwise, be my guest. Okay, so
my thing, though.
So I am addressing your thing because you're assuming that God must have a cause. But neither one of us believe that God was created. God is eternal. So anything that is eternal doesn't have to have a cause. Only what came into existence has a cause. Therefore, if the universe came into existence, then it logically follows that the universe has a cause. Now we have to ask our
God is eternal.
Can I?
So disapprove my statement. Disapprove my claim that everything that has a beginning has a cause.
Right. So just because you've seen in everywhere that is the case,
okay,
that doesn't mean that's always the case.
Fine. You're ignoring all the evidence that we have available to us.
Ignoring it. I'm not.
Yes,
ignoring
you are.
it. I'm only saying.
You're saying that based on a hypothetical that doesn't exist.
Let me finish. I'm saying that we have seen in many places, right? Almost everywhere, that something always needs a cause, right? So
it's not almost everywhere. It's everywhere. Every single effect has a cause.
Yeah, but just because every single effect has a cause that we have seen doesn't mean that it is always the case.
So tell me how it's not.
No, I'm saying that just because it is we have observed always the case doesn't mean it's always the case.
Therefore, based on the evidence that we have available to us as of today, it is more logical. It is more logical based on the evidence that we could observe with our eyes and our senses that it is more logical that the universe has a cause, my friend.
All theorists in the past have said, okay, this has always been the case.
Well, I have evidence on my side. You have a theory that doesn't exist on your side.
It's not evidence. It doesn't.
The evidence is that everything that has a beginning has a cause. Therefore, by default, it logically follows that the universe, if it has a beginning, it has a cause. How is that not logic? It is based on the premise and the truth.
Correlation does not mean causation. Correlation does not mean causation.
I didn't even
saying correlation means causation.
All I said was everything that has a beginning has a cause. This is a universal truth. This is a universal truth that cannot be disapproved, my friend.
This isn't going to be productive if we talk over each other. Yeah. But I'll just say really quickly that, like, I agree with you that, you know, causation, there's a chain of causation. That's pretty obvious, you know, everything arises from something. But the only problem I have is that you've told me that the universe has to have been caused by something. This is your logic so far. You're saying the universe can't come from nothing because that breaks this chain of causation, right?
I said it is more logical that the universe came from something based on the evidence that we have available to us.
Absolutely, okay. Just following on from your train of logic, okay, if we're going to prove a God and argue in favor of a God, then you can't say that a God has come from nothing and a God is always eternal, because that has no evidence for it. Other than biblical evidence, which is obviously disputable because it's spoken word, then you can't necessarily say that a God is the definitive cause of the universe. If you want to say that the universe has a cause, then saying that God is the cause is not sound enough for me.
Okay, look, I didn't even get to the existence of God. All I said was the universe has a cause. I'm getting to the first step, but you guys, based on nothing, you're rejecting the very simple logical claim that everything that has a beginning has a cause. Therefore, it logically follows that the universe must have a cause. So before even getting into the argument about God, you guys are already rejecting the first premise that is logical based on all the evidence that we have.
The universe comes from nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And that claim is illogical based on all the evidence that we have available to us. So it's you're choosing a more less likely position based on the scientific evidence, my friends.
Okay, now we can, if we want to get into the scientific evidence and logic and all of this, now let's get into the existence of God. Let's do that.
Fine, sure, no problem. So, do you agree that it is more likely that the universe has a cause rather than the universe popped out of... No, because... Yeah, no, I'm going to get to that, but you have to get first...
a cosmological argument like Aquinas does, like, we're just gonna like have to... Oh! Wait. Sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Wait. So Aquinas used exactly the logic that you're using. He said that, you know, an arrow can't be fired without a bow.
So you're doing a straw man. You're trying to argue against something that I didn't claim.
How is that a
Okay?
straw man?
Because you're using an analogy that I never used, my friend. My argument is very simple. Everything that has a beginning has a cause. Therefore, it logically follows. I know, but you guys are not even getting past the first step. We have to get past the first step before we get into the existence of God. Because if you are not honest enough to agree that it's more logical that every effect has a cause, you guys aren't even listening. That's the problem.
I just want to say one thing, right? So in theories, right? So let's say the Big Bang Theory, right? All scientific theories.
You said you believed in the Big Bang Theory.
Let me finish. All scientific theories, right, are theories, right? It's only a theory because it hasn't yet been disproved. So, for example, the fact that everything has a cause is only a theory because it hasn't yet been disproved. So, for me, as an agnostic, I am saying that I cannot say definitively that that is 100% true.
So you're ignoring evidence.
No, I'm not ignoring evidence.
Yeah, you are.
No, just like the scientific world thinks, it is only the case until it is disproved. So I'm saying that there is a possibility, there's a very real possibility, like many scientists agree, that the universe could have been eternal, right?
No.
Yes.
That has been disproved 100 years ago, my friend. Give me a credible scientist who believes today that the universe is eternal.
Let me search it up right now. Because I've seen it.
Okay, so you should come back after your research.
Jump back in. Like, if you don't mind, we keep talking about the same question, and I've already said that I believe the universe can come from nothing.
Yeah, but but you have to give me a reason for your claim. You have to give me a logical reason for your claim. If not, we cannot get to the next step. Because if you were not, my friend, if you were...
My claim is that the universe is the beginning of time. So nothing can exist before time exists. So the universe is just the beginning. Like the Big Bang is the beginning of the beginning. You know what I mean?
Okay, so how did that beginning occur? So your theory is that the universe popped out of nothing. So based on all the evidence that we have available to us, that claim, that position is illogical unless you could prove me otherwise.
But fine. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So it is less likely. So your position is less likely based on all the evidence that we have available to us. So you're choosing to go against, but based on all the evidence that we have available to us. So prove me otherwise. Prove me otherwise. Give me a logical argument. Give me a logical argument.
It's not that we have to prove you otherwise. It's just the fact that we don't know.
The fact is that you can say that we're being illogical for thinking whatever, but you still haven't got into like why you believe in God.
Because you're not honest enough to agree that it is illogical to believe that the universe popped out of nothing.
Why that's not the case.
You did not give me any logical reason, my friend.
What to do with logic? This is not what I'm saying.
I've already told you.
The reality is that like we know everything about the universe up until like a split second before the Big Bang. Okay, you can talk about logic or whatever, but this isn't an argument about logic. If you're talking about God, like God is built on faith and belief and people use the Bible.
I didn't even talk about God yet. If you guys are not able, if you are not able to have a discussion based on logic, this conversation is useless. So why should I even go to the topic of God if you cannot even use logic to argue your position? I didn't even talk about my position on God yet. I talked about the scientific position that every cause, every effect has a cause, my friend. Yeah, I know, but you guys are not honest enough to agree that your position is not based on any logical evidence that you could give me.
Based on any logic. So
wait. Let's assume, right, that God created the universe, right? What evidence do you have that it was God that created the Big Bang?
So, first of all, like I said,
you're only assuming that it was God that created that.
I'm assuming it based on logical reasons that I'm giving you.
Can you please stop interrupting me? I'm only saying, right, from what I understand of your argument is that something must have caused the Big Bang, right? And then you're assuming that that something was God.
Okay, look. I didn't even get to my argument about God. My first step, okay, is that everything that has a beginning has a cause. So it logically follows that if the universe has a beginning, then the universe has a cause. Now, if the universe has a cause, now we have to ask ourselves, what was that cause? What was there before? Now, here's my evidence, okay? Everything that is within the universe is within the material world. Everything that is natural, everything that is physical, everything that is within time and space has a beginning. So it logically follows that whatever that was outside of the universe must have been immaterial, supernatural, eternal, outside of time and space, and that is the exact description. That is the description of the God of the Bible. My friend, did you even listen to what I said? Everything outside of the universe, cannot be material, cannot be physical, cannot be within time and space, and therefore it logically follows that whatever that thing was had to be eternal, had to be immaterial, had to be spiritual, and obviously had to be all-powerful because he was able to create the universe. And if he was able to create the universe, he must have been a person, because only a person can decide to create. And therefore, it logically follows that the person or the entity that was there before the universe had to be an all-powerful, mighty God, exactly like what is described in the Bible.
So what created us? Something material, right? What created us was something. There's no. How can you say that? How can you say that?
The immaterial affects the material?
Yeah. So if a material thing comes from a material thing, and then that material thing comes from another material thing, where do you get the immaterial part from?
Because everything within the universe. Everything. No. Look.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So everything that is material, every single thing that is material, single thing that is physical, everything that is natural and within time and space is within the universe. There is nothing physical, immaterial, atoms, energy outside of this universe. So whatever is that thing outside of this universe that caused the universe, I know we already passed that step. Why? Because every beginning has a cause. And what is that cause? That is what we are now questioning. Because you cannot even get to the first step, you cannot follow my logic. That is why I don't want to get to the next step before you are able to be honest with the logical conclusion that the universe has a cause. Once you get through that first step, then we could get to the existence of God. And now that we have gotten to the existence of God, you are coming back to the previous logical argument that I gave you already. That is why I don't want to go in circles.
He's correct. Like, if we're going to talk about logic, then you can say that the universe has to have an existence. But, I feel like we're going around in circles, because this is a productive...
We're going around in circles because you are not...
Whoa. Because I compliment you, man. Because this is we're having a productive conversation, okay? This isn't about picking... At the end of the day, it's not really about picking sides, okay?
Neither way can go forward or back.
Is that we make a lot of assumptions about God. We say that he has to be eternal, he has to be transcendent, as in beyond the universe.
What was my argument?
He has to be omnipotent, omnibenevolent. But I just want to go back a step. If we're saying that, like, material events are caused by material causes, okay? The reason it rains is because it's cold. This is all material, okay? But the one thing I have is, how can an immaterial being that's outside the universe influence the universe itself? Like, how can something that is immaterial have an effect on the material? And then also, like, when we're talking about like body and soul, like I'm not sure if you believe in a soul. Is that something that
we are changing topics?
We're just asking, man.
I'm just saying that the problem I have.
I know, because you're the one who said we're going in circles. I don't want to go in circles.
If you want to talk about a transcendent God outside the universe, then you have to say how it can influence the universe and the world itself.
Was that a question?
I don't think this is.
You have to be able to say how it influences the universe.
I don't know.
So repeat your question. I don't understand.
Okay, my question is, how can an immaterial, transcendent being influence a material universe?
Yeah, very good question. Now, if the universe has a beginning, like I said, it logically follows that the universe has a cause. I'm getting to your question, my friend. So whatever that cause was, cannot be material, cannot be natural. Why? Because the universe cannot give birth to itself. That is like a mother giving birth to herself. It is illogical. So whatever it is that caused the universe to come to existence, it logically follows. Because an immaterial God is a supernatural God, and a supernatural all-powerful God is able to cause the universe to come into existence. And therefore, we could come to a logical conclusion that is more reasonable that the universe was caused by God rather than your position that the universe popped out of nothing.
Okay, wait. Do you mind if I hold the mic?
Yeah, I do mind. Yeah.
So you just whoa, real quick. So this is where it gets like kind of exciting, because you just said that our God is all powerful, but the problem I have with that is I'm sure you're familiar with the problem of evil, which says that if a God is all powerful and all good, how can there be evil in this world?
Okay, that's a very easy question to answer. But before that, we came to the conclusion. Before that, I know, because you're changing topics. It's fine. I will get to your topic. But so far, yeah, I know, but exactly, because I want you guys to be honest enough to follow my logic, and because I feel like you guys aren't even listening.
Logic is only jumping assumptions.
If I ask you what was my argument, I don't think that you would be able to reformulate. Tell me what was my argument.
Right. So you think, right, that because every single thing in this universe has a creator, right? Or has a creation, right?
No.
So, for example, you are only here
that was not my argument.
You are only here because you're parents.
Are you giving me my argument?
I'm trying to.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So that shows me that you weren't listening.
You were here.
So we could get to the problem of evil. Yeah, I know, because you guys aren't listening to my arguments.
Okay, let me hear that.
You guys are not listening. I already said it. I already said 4 or 5 times. We're gonna get to your issue with the problem of evil.
Logic of the creationist argument. That is the whole point. That is what it is. It's everything has been created by something else, and that leads to eventually the Big Bang must have been created by something else.
My friend, my argument is very simple. Okay, I'm gonna say it for the last time. Okay.
Go on.
Everything that has a beginning has a cause, okay?
That's what I just said.
Nobody,
I just said
my friend, can I finish my argument before you guys interrupt me? Okay, everything that has a beginning has a cause. Therefore, if the universe has a beginning, which is the general consensus of scientists today, that the universe has a beginning, and so therefore it logically, don't interrupt please, therefore it logically follows that the universe must have a beginning. My friend, are you able to listen without interrupting?
Listen.
Why should I? Why? Like why? I was just in the middle of a sentence, and you guys are just interrupting me.
Have you heard of the theory of the God of the gaps?
Yeah.
That is what you guys are doing. You guys are doing the theory of the gaps because you are not able to come. You are not able.
What makes yours not a theory? Can I speak?
Based on all the arguments that I gave to these two gentlemen, that they are unable to reformulate because they weren't listening. So,
hold on. Listen. It is not.
If you guys are willing to listen to my arguments, I could give you logical evidence on my position.
Argument number 1. Let's hear.
Okay, so we know that everything that has a beginning has a cause. Science has proved today that the universe has a beginning, and therefore it logically follows that if the universe has a beginning, the universe must have a cause. Now, if the universe has a cause, we have to ask ourselves, what was that cause? Was there something? No, the Big Bang. We're already in agreement that the Big Bang caused the universe to come into existence, right? So before the Big Bang,
what was there? What was a previous universe?
Look, I'm getting to my.
The Big Bang.
So now we have to ask ourselves the question: before the universe came into existence, before the Big Bang, was there something before the Big Bang?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Or was there nothing, right? So this gentleman over here said that there was nothing, okay? So if the universe has a cause, has a beginning, we have to ask ourselves, what was that thing, right? And if everything that is material, everything that is physical, everything that is within time and space is within the universe, it logically follows that whatever that thing is outside of the universe has to be immaterial, has to be outside of time and space, eternal, and obviously has to be powerful if he was able to create the universe. And if he was able to create the universe, he has to be a person, because a person is able to decide. And therefore, it is more logical that whatever created this universe looks like the God that is described to us in the Bible, who is eternal, immaterial, outside of time and space, all-powerful, and a mighty being. So it logically follows, based on evidence, scientific evidence, that it is more reasonable to believe that we come from an almighty creator rather than we popped out of nothing.
Firstly, it is not. Church, listen. It is not an invocation of logic to say that God exists. That is merely saying, oh, we have a place in science we haven't explored yet. Oh, God must have done it. That is not an invocation of logic.
I gave you arguments.
That is not.
I gave you arguments. I gave you logical arguments.
Listen, have you taken a thermodynamics course ever? A thermodynamics course? Just one.
It doesn't matter.
Listen.
Address my argument. Address my argument.
Listen. The second law of thermodynamics states that the entropy of the universe always tends to a maximum. So, in about 1 billion years, the entropy of the universe will be at a maximum. Once there is, distance doesn't exist because the universe is uniform. Okay? Once this doesn't exist, the universe will recollapse and Big Bang will start again. This is a cyclical universe theory written by Richard Feynman, okay? The universe has a series of Big Bangs and expansions to a
fringe position.
First what?
Fringe position.
What's fringe position?
A position that is not a consensus among mainstream scholarship.
Mine, I agree with it. So
why would you not?
Doesn't matter.
Why would you not agree with mainstream scholarship?
So if you gotta take the positions of scholarly scientific positions like Albert Einstein, Blaise Pascal.
If there is evidence that the second law of thermodynamics is accurate, and there's no evidence that God exists, why would you believe in God and not thermodynamics?
That's not the law of thermodynamics, my friend. The law of thermodynamics is the proof that the universe will come to an end at some point. Why?
No, sir.
Because there is a limited amount of energy within this universe, and that is how we know that the universe has a beginning, based on the law of thermodynamics. Because
do some sort of research, get outside your sort of like religious bubble.
Adam, that shows weakness. Ad hom personal attacks doesn't help you, my friend.
Taxes?
Keep going. Ad hominem personal attacks doesn't help your argument. It makes you look weak.
I'm sorry.
I feel like, lads, we need to go club. I can't lie, we need to go club. Lads, this has been a fruitful debate. Okay, not super fruitful, but it doesn't matter. It was still entertaining. My friend. My friend, what is your name?
Andrew.
Andrew, very nice to meet you. Do you have something on Instagram or something?
Yeah, Andrew, disciple of Jesus, altogether.
Andrew, disciple of Jesus.
Can I just say that I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too.
But I wish we'd moved on. Like that was fun.
Another time we'll move on.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you here every Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Can
Fantastic. We might see each other next time.
Bro, I beg.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, by the way,
are you gonna post this on the Instagram?
Probably on YouTube.
All right, cool. Yeah. All right, bless.
All right, God bless you, man.
God bless you too.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I came from Catholic school.
Oh, yeah?
I appreciate your position.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you. God bless you guys.
Let's go.